These are the headlines we're following at this hour. Typhoon Khanun is set to make landfall on the southeastern coast of the Korean peninsula on Thursday. Authorities have raised the disaster response to level 2 in its 3-tier system. And because of Typhoon Khanun, the World Scout Jamboree in Saemangeum gets relocated to the capital and central regions as activities continue nationwide. Meanwhile, South Korea has managed to keep its current account in the black for the second straight month, with a surplus in trade and international capital gains offsetting a deficit in the services account. Good afternoon. After a shift in its path, Typhoon Khanun is forecast to make landfall on the country's southeastern coast on Thursday, bringing heavy downpours and strong winds nationwide. Authorities have raised the disaster response to level 2 in its 3-tier system. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
Packing winds as fast as 44 meters per second, Typhoon Khanun is now expected to hit South Korea's southeastern region later this week. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration on Monday, the typhoon is set to arrive 90 kilometers southwest of Busan on Thursday. The agency warned that once it arrives on the Korean peninsula, the winds will be strong enough to derail a running train. After arriving the country's southeast, the typhoon is then expected to advance northward, making its way up the Korean peninsula. The weather agency also forecast that the typhoon could heavily impact Gangwon province, which may see up to 400 millimeters of rain, while other affected regions might see between 50 and 200 millimeters of precipitation. In response, the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters raised its disaster readiness alert level up a notch to level 2 from level 1 as of 6 p.m. Monday. According to Interior Minister Lee Sang-min, the government will aim to dedicate its administrative power to preventing casualties by restricting access to areas prone to disasters, such as mountains, underpasses, and old reservoir zones. The high alert comes as the recent monsoon season here in the country resulted in a number of casualties, including at an underpass near the city of Cheongju, where over a dozen people were killed when a riverbank collapsed and flooded the underpass. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And Typhoon Khanun has posed yet another challenge to the World Scout Jamboree. It has prompted the closure of the camping site in Saemangeum, with Scout members now being relocated to the central and capital regions. All this as the event has already seen many ups and downs in the past week. Our Choi Soo-hyung has the latest.
The South Korean government and the World Organization of the Scout Movement decided that, starting from Tuesday morning, all participants still at the Saemangeum campsite for the World Scout Jamboree would leave the site. The government stated that this decision was made to ensure the safety of the participants as Typhoon Khanun is heading towards South Korea. Also, South Korean government announced that they will activate their contingency plan for the departure and accommodation for the participants. Some countries, such as the United Kingdom and the United States, had already left the campsite over the weekend.
The departure will be carried out sequentially starting from 10 a.m. The total number of individuals is around 36,000 from 156 countries, and more than 1,000 buses are expected to be mobilized.
Inadequate preparation was evident from the Jamboree start on August 1st. Heavy July rain flooded the Saemangeum site, forcing participants to set up their tents on top of plastic pallets. A heat wave then led more than 400 heat-related illnesses on day 1. Hygiene problems like insufficient toilets and cleaning staff also emerged. The committee in charge of the Jamboree stopped some outdoor activities to tackle ongoing issues, but matters worsened. The government then assigned an emergency budget of approximately $5.2 million. Among its several companies, they provided supplies to prevent heat-related illnesses. On Saturday, August 5th, the UK, with over 4,400 members, left Saemangeum early due to safety concerns, and the US followed. The K-pop concert was also postponed to August 11th due to the heat wave. And there was an incident involving an unauthorized entry into women's shower rooms. On August 7th, as Typhoon Khanun's path switched toward the Korean peninsula, concerns grew for the Saemangeum campsite in Jeollabuk-do province. For safety, the World Scout Organization and the government approved an early departure. The Scouts were unable to finish their planned activities in Saemangeum and will spend the rest of their trip in other parts of the country. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Now a majority of Scout members are heading to the Greater Seoul area with accommodation for all participants secured and assigned. Their activities will also continue in different parts of the country. Shin Se-byuk has more.
Jamboree Scouts may be leaving early, but programs will still continue.
We are setting up accommodations in the Seoul metropolitan area and seeking to partner with local authorities to combine their existing tourism and education activities so that the Jamboree can continue.
According to the government, accommodation for all participants has been secured and assigned. These facilities are mostly concentrated in the Seoul metropolitan area and Chungcheongdo province. The government has looked for lodging options that could accommodate a large number of people, considering the nature of the Jamboree, which features group participation. Factors such as providing convenience for group activities, meals, and shower facilities were taken into account as well. Officials are also gearing up to offer a diverse range of cultural experience programs for the Scouts. The Cultural Heritage Administration plans to open up national palaces across the country for free. Seoul City is also planning to change the schedule of existing summer festivals and curate special programs tailored to Jamboree participants. Also, the Culture Ministry will offer various programs at major museums, including the National Museum of Korea and the National Folk Museum of Korea. The ministry, together with the Korea Tourism Organization, has arranged to assist Jamboree participants who wish to travel around South Korea even after the official program ends. It will provide accommodation in university dormitories for nearly 3,000 participants from 8 countries, including Belgium and Canada. The K-pop concert for the Jamboree is also set for a venue change.
We're considering the World Cup Stadium in Mapogu District, Western Seoul, as another alternative.
Major companies such as Samsung, SK, and Hyundai have also joined in to offer guided tours of their premises. Samsung Electronics will run a tour program of its chip factories in Gyeonggi-do province. Hyundai Motor also plans to offer a tour of its factory for Scouts from the Netherlands, Japan, and Malaysia. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
In the meantime, South Korea's top government officials will form an emergency response team to provide lodging and cultural programs for the Scout members. Under President Yoon Suk-yeol's orders, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will operate a paying government response team from Tuesday. 11 ministers, the mayor of Seoul, and the police commissioner general are a part of this team. According to Yoon's office, the president asked the team to make every effort to safely transport Scouts to the Greater Seoul area and coordinate lodging and cultural experience programs for them. Also returning early from his summer holiday, Yoon is likely to postpone his cabinet reshuffle as he addresses various public safety and weather-related concerns. Now, in other news, the U.S. has reaffirmed its condemnation of North Korea's recent missile launches and has urged Pyongyang to engage in dialogue. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller on Monday local time also expressed concerns over growing military cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow, saying that the U.S. will continue to enforce all existing sanctions on the two countries. This comes after Russian defense minister visited Pyongyang late last month. When asked about North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit to major weapons factories last week, the spokesperson said he wouldn't try to explain Kim's sanctions, adding that North Korea currently has no inclination to engage in talks. South Korea has managed to keep its current account in the black for the second straight month in June. This comes amid a surplus in the goods balance and international capital gains, offsetting a deficit in the services account. Our finance correspondent Shin Ha-young has more.
South Korea's current account was in the black again in June. Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday shows the country posted a current account surplus of $5.87 billion. This is the second straight month that a surplus was recorded, and it was even greater than in the month before. The surplus growth comes on the back of wider gains in trade and investment. The goods balance, which tracks the imports and exports, saw a surplus of $3.98 billion in June, recording a surplus for the third consecutive month. The country exported around $54 billion worth of goods, an on-year decrease of 9.3%, plunging for the 10th month in a row. By category, shipments of chips, petroleum products, and industrial chemical products slipped, while auto exports rose by over 60% from the previous year. On the other hand, the drop in imports was greater than that of exports, as the cost of importing raw materials dropped due to lower energy prices. A rise in dividend income from Korean subsidiaries located overseas also contributed to the current account surplus. Meanwhile, the deficit in the service account, which tracks earnings and spending on overseas trips and transport, came to around $2.6 billion as more people traveled abroad. The accumulated account balance for the first half of this year is in the black by some $2.4 billion.
Even under challenging external conditions, the fact that the trade balance has maintained a surplus in the first half of a year for 12 years in a row holds significance. Unlike the initial projections of a deficit in the first half of this year, the country performed well.
Regarding the outlook for the current account in the second half of 2023, the experts said that it's difficult to forecast due to the uncertainties such as global oil prices, the pace of economic recovery in major countries, including China, and recovery in the IT industry. 신하영, Arirang News.
Recent data revealed that in South Korea, the average female workers' wages are around 60% of male workers' wages. According to the data from 2021 released by National Tax Service on Tuesday, female workers earn nearly 20 million Korean won or $15,000 less than men per year. The average yearly per capita income for females was around $22,000 and for males was around $37,000. Although the wage ratio of females to males improved by about 2 percentage points compared to 5 years ago, data released by the OECD in December 2021 shows South Korea's gender wage gap is the highest among OECD members. Samsung Electronics has maintained its top position globally by selling over 50 million smartphones in the second quarter of 2023. According to a report by global tech research firm Counterpoint, Samsung devices outsold Apple phones by 3 percentage points during that period. However, Counterpoint also noted that Apple recorded operating profits of over $11 billion, 7 times more than Samsung due to higher average selling price of Apple smartphones. Samsung will be hoping for higher profit ratios following the release of the company's latest premium models, the Galaxy Z Flip 5 and Fold 5, on August 11th. Following the recent stabbing attacks in South Korea, critics have been pointing to a lack of mental illness care for those in need. And data shows only 1 out of 8 patients get help from the government-provided mental care facilities, Yoon reports.
The recent spate of stabbings in South Korea has drawn criticism over the lack of care and services available for people with severe mental illnesses. However, the government has mental health welfare centers at 260 locations nationwide tasked with dealing with serious mental illness in communities. According to a Ministry of Health and Welfare report on Tuesday, as of 2021, only 1 out of 8 people that have visited a mental care clinic for schizophrenia use these government-provided mental care facilities. The same report showed only 0.05% of patients with bipolar disease were registered at these centers, dropping to 0.01% of patients with depression. The government has also been operating welfare facilities for basic mental health at 244 locations across the country. These centers provide personalized care like home visits, phone consultations, and mental therapy for patients with mental disorders that have been released from hospitals or have quit outpatient treatment. Contrary to growing opinion regarding the lack of available services, the issue is inadequate publicity for the existence of these facilities. Patients with serious mental illness are advised to take advantage of these services when being discharged from hospitals. But many don't think they need additional care, and hospitals cannot legally register patients at local community welfare centers without the patient's consent. In order to prevent further incidents like the recent stabbing attacks, awareness of mental illnesses and the presence of these mental health care facilities is crucial. Yoon, Arirang News.
Another member of BTS set to join the military, this time Suga, who canceled his request to delay enlistment in order to begin his mandatory military service. According to his agency Big Hit Music on Monday, an announcement will be made on when he will be joining as soon as the notice of enlistment is available. He will become the third BTS member to serve in the military, following Jin and J-Hope. Jin began his service back in December, while J-Hope joined in April. Here in South Korea, all able-bodied men are required to serve in the military for 18 to 20 months, depending on the branch. Now, with the number of people living with pets exceeding 10 million, there are smarter services out there that help with feeding, training, and managing the health of pets. Chung Woo-ji has more about the pet tech or pet technology market.
Food comes out of the automatic feeder when the dog approaches. The AI provides the appropriate amount of food by checking how active the dog was through a device attached to the dog's neck. The device can also determine the dog's location in real time.
Not many people think about connecting communication products with raising a pet, but now it's possible to manage the pet's health through a mobile phone subscription.
Another telecommunications company launched a platform last July that provides dog training services. Dog owners can analyze their dog's personality and connect with a suitable professional trainer. 280,000 people signed up in 1 year.
Our customer satisfaction rate almost always exceeds 9.5 points after training. The satisfaction level is very high, and recommendation points also surpass 9.5.
There are also telecommunications companies that have released products that help veterinary imaging diagnosis. When X-rays are taken and uploaded at the animal clinic, an AI delivers results in real time. More than 200 veterinary hospitals nationwide are using the service.
It takes about a day when remote reading is requested, but with AI reading, results can be received within a very short time of 30 seconds and used for treatment.
Experts assume that telecommunications companies are looking for new revenue models as the industry is already saturated.
Many customers are leaving with the appearance of affordable phones, and the demographic structure is changing with the younger generation population decreasing. So a breakthrough is needed for low growth, and various attempts are being made in the process.
The size of the pet-related market is expected to grow further in various areas. Chung Woo-ji, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In Ukraine, at least 5 people have been killed and over 30 injured after Russian missiles struck the eastern city of Pokrovsk. Rescuers are searching for those trapped beneath rubble. According to local officials, Russia launched 2 missile attacks on Monday local time, striking a hotel, residential buildings, and other civilian structures. The first attack killed 4 civilians, and the second killed 1 emergency official. The strikes come a day after Ukraine launched airstrikes, damaging 2 road bridges linking mainland-occupied Ukraine to Crimea. And 2 days after a wave of Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukraine killed 6 people and destroyed a blood transfusion center in Kupiansk. In Slovenia, at least 6 people have died and hundreds have been left homeless amid flooding that has been called the worst natural disaster to ever hit the country. The flooding started over the weekend, submerging villages, washing away roads, and causing $550 million of damage. It came after a month's worth of rain fell in less than a day. In response, the European Union and NATO have begun sending aid to Slovenia. The heavy rains also hit Austria, where 1 woman died after falling into a river in the southern village of Zollfeld. Austria also reported over 360 landslides. Croatia, meanwhile, has declared a state of emergency in parts of the country where roads, settlements and fields are submerged. England have advanced to the quarter-finals of the 2023 Women's World Cup after beating Nigeria 4-2 on penalties following a goalless draw. The European champions faced a tough battle against Nigeria in Brisbane on Monday, which was made tougher after England forward Lauren James was sent off for stepping on a Nigerian defender. But the Lionesses held on to take the match to a penalty shootout, where 4 successful spot kicks saw them move on to the next round. Australia also made it through to the quarter-finals after beating Denmark 2-0 in Sydney. England will face the winner of the match between Colombia and Jamaica, and Australia will square off against the winner of France against Morocco. And finally, director of the movies The Exorcist and The French Connection, William Friedkin, has died at the age of 87. According to his wife, the award-winning director died at his home in Los Angeles on Monday due to heart failure and pneumonia. His death comes just weeks before the release of his latest movie, The Caine Mutiny Court-Martial. The legal drama is scheduled to premiere at the 80th Venice International Film Festival, which starts at the end of August. Friedkin began his career in the 1960s. His 1971 crime thriller, The French Connection, won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. Horror classic The Exorcist, released 2 years later, won Best Screenplay and Best Sound. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It's 입추 today, the beginning of autumn on the seasonal calendar, but temperatures continue to sizzle with Seoul enduring a 9th consecutive tropical night. Afternoon highs are going up similar to yesterday, hovering around 35 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, heavy passing rain is in the forecast for southwestern regions, along with thunder and lightning. East of Gangwon-do province will see 60 millimeters more rainfall. Tropical storm Khanun is moving slowly over waters of Kagoshima Prefecture in Japan, and by early Thursday will strike Korea's south coast before traveling up the peninsula to North Korea. Bands of active rain clouds will develop along with violent winds and high waves around the Korean peninsula and will start to feel the effect as early as tomorrow. So those taking a summer vacation need to remain on high alert. Typhoon Khanun, meanwhile, will bring much awaited heat relief to the country. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions. Today we bring our focus to the world's most popular doll, Barbie. The doll is often criticized for promoting an unrealistic body image and gender stereotypes, but it has also been inspiration to many young girls who believe they could become anything that Barbie was, a doctor, astronaut, or president. And that's what Barbie Land is all about in the movie Barbie. It tells the story of a Barbie who goes into the real world and learns that being a woman in the real world is uncomfortable. Well, now it's become the first movie directed solely by a female director to hit $1 billion in global sales, with the Barbie sensation this time seemingly going wider in gender and ages than ever before. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.